Grand Rising, Grand Rising. Hope everyone's doing well. Ooh, volume's too loud.
Grand Rising, peace, peace.
How's everyone doing? Can everyone give us some ones in the chat? Let us know if you heard us, or if you
Put
hear
some
us.
one.
Alright, ones, cool, cool. Good stuff. Good stuff. Everybody here, Bones okay?
Mic check, 1 2 1 2.
Thank you, Free. It's good to be back. There's no place like home.
Where you been?
Man, in Europe, literally, figuratively. It was alright.
Man, been around the world and
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. So, Grand Rising David Corey, Grand Rising Pamela Hall, Grand Rising Ladarian Woods, Grand Rising Lady Freed, Grand Rising Oak Cliff Tiff, Grand Rising Golden Moon, Macadon One, I am Flying Squirrel, Grand Rising to anybody. I miss Pamela Hall, Grand Rising. Trying to scroll up, make sure I didn't miss anybody. I think I said David Corey, Grand Rising. Yeah, it feels good to be back. Grand Rising Big Hawk. One of the things I wanted to share, um, that I shared with you guys while I was on the cruise ship, was that when you take a Mediterranean cruise, the Mediterranean Sea, it is big, but it's not as big as the maps would have you indicate. And what I mean by that, I mean wide. I could actually see the coast of Africa from the ship. Um, One of my business partners, who also owns an accounting firm in Philadelphia, was telling me that the only time that she actually went to Africa was when she was in South America, and there's an actual physical land bridge that connects Spain, because she went to Spain. It connects Spain to Morocco. So she said that's the only time she actually touched foot in Africa. So you can actually walk from Spain to Africa. I know somebody who's actually done it. What I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to get on an interview. Matter of fact, she's still in Spain. Her plane got delayed, so she'll be flying out today. So thought that was interesting piece of factual information. So you can walk from Spain to Africa, even though the Mediterranean separates. But it's only like, if you look on the map, it's a 9 mile gap, but obviously it's less than that. So something to think about. So hopefully everyone had a great weekend. Um, the show Monday that you guys did that I missed, I did listen to it this morning. This rising, excuse me. Was this fire? I like that 184. It's got me thinking. Um,
Appreciate that.
yeah, y'all held it down, man. Y'all definitely was making me homesick. That's for real. Look, I'm trying to find quiet spaces to listen to the show on a cruise ship now, because they had a library on the cruise ship. So sometimes I would duck into there and listen, and or just go somewhere else and listen. So, but yeah, I try to stay tuned there. But y'all held it down. It was great. Like I said, y'all definitely make a brother homesick. So what's going on, Bones? What we gonna do today? We gonna talk about this Title VI thing, right? You didn't open up this can of worms.
Yeah, putting the information out there, letting them know. A lot of programs been around this the majority of our lives, designed to help and benefit us on that road to self-sufficiency. A lot of us just wasn't aware of it.
And this is as y'all see the excuse me, I'm still trying to get adjusted to this time difference. As you see the slideshows going across the screen, it's just a bunch of different snapshots of Title VI and how it's tied directly to the Civil Rights Act in 1964. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and put the link so y'all can have access to it.
Dropping on them. Y'all get them hard hats and boots and shovels ready.
Cause y'all know
what it is.
Yeah, y'all know how we do. We want to make sure that you have the actual information and not take our word for it. We're learning just like you. So this is a collaborative effort. Don't ask me to spell collaborative because I don't do spelling. But at the end of the day, we just want to make sure we get it right. It ain't about being right, it's about getting it right. And that's what we're here to do. Get it right. So if the information that we provide needs to be, what's the best way to look at it? Needs to be debunked, or you have some information to refute it, or you have some contrary information that's factual, then we want to know about it. We don't want to be putting out information that's inaccurate, especially unintentionally, because I think it goes without saying to be putting out information intentionally that's not going to help people is that's fraud. But we don't unintentionally want to be putting out misinformation that could definitely harm our people in any way, stretch of the imagination. So I'm dropping the link so that you can not only take a look at it, but also if there's something that needs to be addressed, you have more questions, or you could provide more insight, or what's another word I'm looking for? Cooperate. Yeah, that's a good word. Don't actually spell that word either. Then it's all the better. Because without the chat, this is basically not a monologue. It's a duologue and a trilogue. And I don't know what the correct term of that is. So it is what it is. Work with me. But we definitely want to make sure we get this right. So let me go ahead and put this link in here for you. And what you'll see is it is directly on the United States Department of Justice website. So for those that want to doubt the source, So there's a link. LJ Free says, be sure to bring proof, not simply conjecture, feelings, or opinions. Thank you. Well, thank you, Free. Definitely appreciate you putting that out there. Definitely appreciate everybody that chat. Y'all make what we do that much easier because y'all always contributing, always asking the right questions, questioning the status quo, questioning us on the panel, and we definitely appreciate y'all for that. So before we get started, as always, we want to welcome all the new subscribers, all the newcomers to the Autonomous Assembly channel. It's where the real work gets done. It's a gathering of the minds that do the work. And our mission is that we are an Autonomous Assembly, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to raising up Indigenous Americans' voices by using genealogy, also known as family history, which is the study of families and tracing of their lineages and history. Genealogists use oral interviews, historical records, genetic analysis, and other records to obtain information about a family and to demonstrate kinship and pedigrees of its members. And like all organizations either have or should have, we have our core values listed on the website at autochthonousassembly.com. Um, they are the foundation of our company, which is essential to our success and serves as a lens through which we evaluate every business decision. And those core values are, but are not limited to, integrity, know and do what is right, respect, treating others the way you want to be treated, responsibility, embrace opportunities to contribute, and servant leadership, serve the common good. And you can find that information in our core values on autochthonousassembly.com, along with our mission statement, and also the 50 free links to help you with your genealogy. Is there anything you want to add to that, Bones, or anything I missed? I know it's been a little over a week since I've been doing this, so I'm a little rusty, so forgive me.
And for those who are more comfortable with Facebook, you can also find Autochthonous Assembly on Facebook under Autochthonous Assembly, and all the information that we go through daily and through the week is also posted there. And also Instagram. So basically all the major platforms we're on, you can find us.
Big facts. Excuse me. So, before we get started, is there anything that you wanted to address? Because I know I didn't get a chance to tell you what, ask you how your weekend was. I just started running off at the mouth.
Oh, no. Same old. Comedy Central.
They still trying to get you to run for mayor, Tipton.
Man, we coming with all type of ideas for you to do.
Well, that just shows that you are appreciated in your community. That's important, especially with what we're trying to accomplish. Doing the work in the community first, because those are people that know you. Those are people that see you. Those are people that can actually physically verify that you exist as a human on this planet. And that's where everything should start. You should start at home, right? Clean out your own house, clean up your own porch, clean out your own rooms, before you stop pointing fingers at other people, telling them what they need to clean up.
Yeah, how you gonna clean up somebody else's house better than yours? That's a problem.
Yeah, it is. He says, Bones, are you on the line?
Oh, I see Free got jokes this rising. Ha, ha, ha.
So Bones, you had a discussion about the Title VI of the Civil Rights Act and how it plays a significant role in not only the 184 of the HUD, but just in general. What was it that made you come across the Title VI? What was it that you was looking at that led you to this Title VI discovery or rediscovery, if you will?
Well, basically, you know me, I'm always studying the business aspect of something, following the money trail, where the capital is coming from. Then, like as we started going through these grants and stuff, I started realizing that, even like they said in the presentation yesterday, that a lot of these government subsidies, they're stacking up on, using 2, 3, 4 of them and turning around buying land and property and stuff with never no money out of no one's pocket.
Say that part again, just because I don't think people heard it. Say it again.
Basically, they buying land, property, starting infrastructures, everything you need to start a whole town, but it ain't coming out of their pocket. I mean, we listened to yesterday how the lady said the Cherokee Nation got over 500 184 loans out.
What's that?
How that is?
Wasn't that simultaneously meaning at one time?
At one time, yeah, at one time.
Well, I was right, Ladarian. And it got me to start thinking about programs or TV shows like Shark Tank. Just throw some ones in the chat if y'all like Shark Tank, or if y'all have even watched Shark Tank. That's one of my, I guess, for lack of better terms, guilty idiot box
We ain't talking
channel.
Jaws. We ain't talking Jaws 3 because it was in an aquarium. No, Shark Tank, y'all.
So Ladarian wasn't Golden Moon. David Copper put it 2. Really, David? Already? This what we doing? Well, what got me to started thinking about the Shark thing and how business owners operate. And if we know about these programs, millionaires and potential billionaires definitely know about this. Free put a 1.5. Thanks, Free. And I know some of the people that were having complaints about why would the Sharks want to have 51% equity stake in the business? Because for those of you who don't know how Shark Tank works, is you come in to the angel investors, if you will, or these investors, you pitch them your idea, your business idea. And your business idea is based off of the return of value that they're going to get for investing money. So you're basically evaluating your business either on proven concept or you have a great business plan and you have something that's patentable and you have total exclusivity. And then what happens is the Sharks, if they think the idea is a good idea, they will bid to see who's going to be your partner. So they'll say, if you're asking for $200,000 for 20% equity in your business, then you're basically saying that your business is worth $1 million. And so if it's a good idea, then they'll say, well, I don't want, for what you're asking for and what you base your business off of, what the numbers are, I don't want 20%. I want 51%, and I'll give you $500,000. And it made me start thinking, well, they could afford to do that if they know about these programs, and they already got grant writers, and they already have a team in place that's going to be able to get you the money that's not even coming out their pocket, and then they're going to get a return on that investment, and which also gives them the opportunity to also double, triple, and quadruple dip into the HUD 184, HUD Section 3, the USDA grants, and even the Title 6, which we'll be talking about shortly. And this is something that these individuals could actually do themselves if they were aware of these programs. So that's my 2 cents on that.
You ain't wrong. This information had me break down mine and restructure mine. Now, hold up.
Yeah, because of what you have access to.
Mm-hmm. I mean, just off of it from business. When you think a lot of times, a lot of businesses get the returns and the things they do off of good business deals, when you come to find out, no, they had access to subsidies. So while when you're trying to do it out your pocket and raise capital unconventional ways, they got government grants and loans where their capital coming from. I mean, let's remember, we can also do the same. We can also, and we will do the same.
Exactly. So the funds are there, and they're printing money. So it's not like the money's going to ever run out. And I hate to bust your bubble for those of you that really think that China owns the United States debt. I dare you to, that's if you have a passport, to go visit China. You'll find out that China owns, there are more McDonald's in China than there are in the United States. And China and McDonald's is a holding corporation. And y'all already know what a holding corporation is. They own the land. So McDonald's owns more land in China than they do in the United States.
China don't even own Hong Kong. What these people talking about?
So I say that to say, don't be under the misconception that the enemies that are perpetrated, as far as our enemies, are actually our enemies. The financial district is in what? Britain. The United States is a military arm, and we know who controls religion, right? So you ain't gotta believe me. Just do the research. Start looking at some of your student loans. You'll find out where they're based at. So this is a big chessboard.
Yes, it is.
And either you're gonna be a pawn.
Here,
Could be a pawn. Look, you could be anywhere from a pawn to a king. You'll be in everything from a pawn to a king, or you can actually come to the chess table and play the game.
Yeah, what you want to be a piece for? I ain't trying to be a chess piece. I'm trying to be the player.
That does not mean separating from the United States to do so.
If you separate it from the board, how you gonna play the game?
Take your piece and go home and start another game, I guess. I don't know.
Say what? Even if you did that with the game, you started another game that nobody recognizes, that has no standing. So, and you got what? That's like you get mad at the basketball court. You take your ball, go down to the other end. It's only the ball, but everybody down on the other end with another ball playing. You game.
Look, I'm cool with you going down the other end of the court, but if you take your ball off the court and then go on the football field and try to play, that's gonna be a problem. The goal line and the basketball goal ain't the same goal. I'm just saying.
Somebody gonna be looking silly.
You will get tackled on the football field. But anyway, this petty session was brought to you by Talk to This Assembly.
What, you mean I can't play football with basketball rules? Dang.
So let's go ahead and get started with this Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Gonna go ahead and put the link in the back chat for those who are just coming in. Just a second. All right. So Bones, you got yours pulled up? Because I know I'm going to need you to interject at any time that you feel.
No problem.
And I'm definitely going to have some questions for you, as I'm sure people in the panel are. David Corey said, proud sponsor of Nike. Just do it. Alright, y'all. So hopefully you got your hard hats on. Got your pickaxes, front loaders, backhoes, and all that good stuff. Yes, free. The petty session ended. So now it's time to talk about some things that's actually gonna put some money in people's pockets and allow them to be self-sustaining. So we're on the page of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, 42 U.S.C. 2000 D E.T. SCQ. That's the section of the codes that you can go find it at. And it's at www.justice.gov/CRT/FCS/Title VI-overview. And it starts out by reading the overview of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Now think about it. This is 1964 that this was enacted, right?
Yep.
And this is 2019.
Bingo.
So let's do some basic math. That's 55 years. You're talking about a 55-year head start of entities being able to access this information that has been here, that we could have used. Some of us probably were able to, or privy to. I suspect that for your Europeans, descendants, and your foreigners have been able to take more advantage of it. Because the Civil Rights Acts are basically about minorities. So there's only one class of people in this country that don't classify as a minority. You know that? I'll let y'all marinate on that. So Title 642 U.S.C. 200 ET-SEQ was enacted as part of the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1964. It prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, and national origin in programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance, as President John F. Kennedy said in 1963. Simple justice requires that public funds, to which all taxpayers of all races, colors, and national origins contribute, not to be spent in any fashion which encourages, entrenches, subsidizes, or results in racial, color, or national origin discrimination. So here's a question. Who does this benefit? Because all means all, and that's all means, right?
All, everybody.
And if that's the case, then the question that we need to ask is, why have we not been privy to this public information? Pamela Hall says, sounds like everybody. Exactly. Now, I'm about to date myself, which is fine.
I said not somebody's, but everybody's.
Or as we say in Northern Virginia and parts of Maryland, everybody. I got my first computing and was online in 1994. Okay, which basically means I had access to this information. Because remember, the internet was a government project first, which means these websites were already up.
Yep.
Let's not forget that. These websites have been up since the inception of the internet.
Back to the days of AOL, dial up.
Mm-hmm. So I can understand prior to having limited access to this information, because having to, go to the Library of Congress or go to the library or whatever reasons, whatever thing that can limit you from having access to this information. So I get that. And even 1994 for this area where I lived in, even in the Taiwan area, as I discovered when I moved to Georgia in 97, 98, that not everybody was up on the internet. So let's just be fair. Let's just say 2000. Is it safe to say that everybody had access to the internet through their phone or what have you by 2000?
Yeah, we can say about 2000. Yeah.
Okay. So we basically talking about 19, almost 20 years.
Yep.
Ooh, Ladarian Woods. See, that's what I love about this chat. Asking a phenomenal question. Ladarian Woods states, what's going on, no sellout? Ladarian Woods states, if it's for everybody or everyone, why is it that everybody seems to think it was and is only for so-called black people? Bones, you want to take that one, Bones?
That's the illusion. Please no sellout. See, by doing that, they can create a particular image of these programs, paint a particular picture. So then, mainly in our communities, we don't look into these programs and access them and seeing how they can benefit us as a whole. I mean, just look at it now. How many people will tell you now, don't deal with the government? pull out the government. Don't deal with the system.
So let me ask you this question. Let's take away that aspect of it, even though it's a very important aspect. Let's take away that, right? And let's look at us from a society that I will say, tongue in cheek, that thankfully to the Pan African movement, we had more that in the Cosby Show in the 90s, right? We had more of our people enrolling in colleges and getting degrees, right?
Yep.
Getting indoctrinated, if you will.
Yep.
But very few of us, even with higher education, having an associate's degree in associates of science in computer IT, that goes to show you how old I am, because they didn't have a computer degree at that time. But even those of us who have these quote unquote degrees, we didn't look into this information. Even our scholars who are a part of the conscious movement, who claim to have broken the spell, they never talked about this. No one even read it, seems like, to debunk it or to disqualify it. Am I missing something?
Nope. Not a word.
Because if you read it, you'll see who it's for. Like I tell, for young people who go to the bars, if you want to win some easy money, you ask a $1 million question: what was the last minority to get their civil rights? And unless you're unless you really read the Constitution and any of the laws that were passed, most people would never say white women, never, because they don't think about white women as minorities.
And that's who the civil rights really was for. We had rights since the 1800s, relatives. Let's remember that. Yes, they put in mechanisms to try to stop us from accessing our rights, but we had them since the 1800s. How else do you think all these melanated politicians got elected back then? Come on now, let's use our rationale. Come on.
Let's use your brain. How about that? Use your brain. Stop listening to what people tell you and use your brain. Be a free thinker, not an indoctrinated one. Well, such and such and so on this channel or this book said this, so it must be right. Do research on it. Research the source. LJ Free says our society makes law seem like it's so archaic. It's pointless to waste time digging through. Not true. That's facts. It's not true. And law is statewide. Even so much so that not even just statewide. The most important law to know is a law in your county, in your city. That's the most important law because that's the law that governs where you're at. Case in point. You know me, because I like to give examples because, keep it simple. That's how I function. It doesn't matter that marijuana, both recreational and medicinal, is legal in Washington, D.C. I am literally 21 miles south of Washington, D.C. Does that mean I can go to D.C., get their marijuana, and bring it back across the state lines into Virginia? I'll wait.
You can try it. It ain't legal. Just don't get stopped, bro.
Let's look at another one. Let's look at the gun laws. State of Virginia, you can actually have what they call a Utah permit. Carry and conceal Utah permit that allows you to carry and conceal in 33 states where those states allow. Guess which two places near where I live don't allow that? Maryland and DC. So it doesn't matter that I could have a concealed and carry permit that's Utah based. It's what they call it. It's just a slang for it. I have to look up the actual term. It doesn't matter that I have that in the state of Virginia. I bet not have a concealed weapon in my glove box and go into DC. That's a felony. I better not have it in Maryland, and the clip is not in my glove compartment. I mean, the clip is not in my trunk. That's a felony. So I say all this to say that while we have been led to believe, intentionally and unintentionally, that the most powerful laws are the Constitution, your most powerful laws are in the state that you live and reside. Because I would love to see someone who is promoting not driving without a license, go to Georgia and speed and get pulled over by a Georgia cop and don't have your license. Better yet, don't have your license, know your place registered to see what happens.
You don't even have to speed here. Listen, I'm in South Georgia now. Been here going on 5 years. You come here driving without a license, you going to jail. You ain't got to be speeding. Think you're going to be able to pull out something else? All right.
David Corey says no gun stores in the city limits of Chicago. So high crime that high. Well, we already know that, David. There's lots of YouTube. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bones. My bad.
No, I was just saying that's by design, David Corey. We know that. I mean,
the drop-off program.
Let's look at what you call civilization, and let's break this down in the business context. I'm gonna start a civilization, and I need some form of job security that's gonna bring in finances. The first thing that you bring to a society is crime. It creates jobs and industries automatically. Not saying that it's good. I'm just showing you why certain things are pushed on you, why certain resources are taken away from certain areas. It's by design.
Exactly. Grand Rising, Carrier. Thanks for the welcome back. And let's look at the jobs that are created. The higher the crime rate. Let's look at it from a business perspective. The higher the crime rate, the more lawyers you're gonna need, the more courts you're gonna need, the more jails you're gonna need, the more police you're gonna need. Now, what happens when they come out? You gotta hire what? Probation officers, right?
Yep, officers. And let's not forget, the majority of these industries that we just named are non-profit. So, and by default, by them saying they're dealing with the criminal element, ain't that a public service? So they're non-profits getting finances from servicing the population.
Yeah. So what's the motto of the police? To protect and do what? Protect and serve and protect.
Yep, serve and protect and serve.
Now what they do versus what they're supposed to do, that's something totally different.
And let's stop perpetrating that you can debate law with a police officer. Police officers do not do the law. If a police officer knew the law, he becomes a lawyer. They don't discuss law.
And they enforce policies and statutes of the law based off of their jurisdiction.
Bingo.
They're not concerned about some law that has nothing to do with their state. What would be the reason? Free says in the 80s, the back alleys were the mass gun drop-off point. She say, thanks, government. And this is not a section to where we're banging on the government. We're just bringing up some points about state law versus federal law versus United States Constitution. So we're reading Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. We're on the first paragraph. I will be soon dropping the link again for those that are just getting on. So we're just basically just talking in general about how it is that many of us thought the Civil Rights Act were only for melanated or for quote-unquote black people, African Americans. When in fact, if you actually read it, it's basically for it. Okay, so let's be realistic, because I'm gonna be fair. It basically includes everybody but white men. If we're gonna call it like it is.
Oh. Yeah, because the white men are the majority.
Right. They're the majority of people that know the truth overall.
Mm-hmm.
But saying that, the perception is that these acts were for us, and they weren't. They had to give something for the people that were coming to the United States so they could thrive. So I'm on the second paragraph. It says if a recipient of federal assistance is found to be discriminated and voluntary compliance cannot be achieved, the federal agency providing the assistance should either initiate fund termination proceedings or refer the matter to the Department of Justice for appropriate legal action. Aggrieved individuals may file administrative complaints with the federal agency that provides funds to a recipient, or the individuals may file suit for appropriate relief in federal court. Title VI itself prohibits Title VI itself prohibits intentional discrimination. However, most funding agencies have regulations implementing Title VI that prohibit recipient practices that have the effect of discrimination on the basis of race, color, or national origin. Did y'all see that? Did y'all read that? Am I reading that right?
Yes, you are.
It says Title VI itself prohibits intentional discrimination. However, most funding agencies have regulations implementing Title VI that prohibit recipient practices that have the effect of discrimination on the basis of race, color, or national origin. So even in their own practices, they're supposed to have things in effect to keep that discrimination from happening. Pamela Hall says, but the white man benefit from more. Well, Pamela, if you think about it, in this area, because you're familiar with the Northern Virginia area, government contracting is big where we live. And there are a lot of larger corporations that partner with smaller, quote unquote, minority companies to win a lot of contracts. And many times these heads of these CEOs are married to a minority. The only minority that a European man, or let's just say a native-born European, cannot benefit is if he was married to another native-born European man. But he can marry anybody else, or partner with anybody else and benefit from these.
So don't look at the loopholes. Look at it as they're providing a service to so-called minority group. Anybody can access this as long as you're servicing the so-called minority groups.
So when it says anybody can benefit, that means us. And I think we need to look at it from that perspective. Yeah, this is what they've done. This is what they've been doing and getting away with, so to speak, or been able to have access and privy to for over 55 years. But now we know. We're sharing this information, so now you know. Now you could go out and share information so someone else will know. Now, what you choose or choose not to do with this information is totally up to your discretion. But what it will do is it will eliminate any excuses you have at the end of the day. So it doesn't even matter what your self-determination is, as long as you're not self-determining white man.
You have access.
You have access.
Even as a white man, if he had a nonprofit that was even a for-profit business, and they're doing business to these particular groups, they get access to the benefits.
Yep.
The person receiving the service and the person opening the door for the service. The problem is we spent the majority of our lives waiting on the service instead of creating the industries to access the service. That's the difference. That's the true difference.
You're absolutely right. And the music industry is like, I've heard many people say that the music industry is maybe I'm misquoting it, so don't quote me on it, but from what I understand, from what I hear, the music industry is our last frontier or our last stronghold, when in actuality it's not. unless you're starting your own record label and your own publishing and your own company,
Yeah, your own independent distribution. Then no.
yeah, then if you're trying to get a record deal, then you're just a high paid employee.
Yep.
Grandma says, but Bones, you have to look at it like this. We were not told this information. It was hidden from us for over 50 years. Well, Pamela, you make a great point, but at the end of the day, culpable deniability is what the government has. We weren't told we were Indian, but we found out. You know,
Yeah, they don't hide anything from you. Yes, it's a journey to find out, but anything worth having is worth fighting and struggling for. So we've been consistent. So, school has taught a lot of us not to think for ourselves. It's the part where we have to change because, like we're realizing, a lot of these programs been around for 100 to 57 years.
Grand Rising, Jay Susquehanna. Hope you're doing well, bro.
I was just having this conversation with Antonio.
What was that?
40 minutes, the same conversation about the system is here. You're going to run away from it or going to utilize it. Here for you. So,
And I'm
by the way,
right. Go ahead, Bones. Sorry.
I blame.
Yeah, and like I said, this is my opinion, is that everybody else is utilizing it and using it against us. When are we going to use it for us? Instead of letting everybody else build our communities, build our housing, then we complain about it. When are we going to build our communities and build our housing? Because to access these programs is not like they're asking for no special DNA sequencing or for you to pass a special test. Some of them you apply just by living in particular areas. What we learned about 184 yesterday. Anybody that's tied back into a tribe can access 184.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is now, those of us who can access it, we access it for those in our community who can't. And make sure that we all come up off the benefits.
And so, of course, Antonio was going to rebuke what No Seller said. He says, the analogy I gave No Seller is, I personally feel like we talking about selling coke and a white dude walk in saying he want to be our supplier. LOL, trust him. That's just me. And at the end of the day, you have your premise. And if you haven't seen a situation where it would work or be beneficial, I understand why you feel that way. I definitely do.
And we also got to remember, dealing with government grants and loans, it's not a handout. See, once you understand business and how business works, if you're trying to be successful in business, you're going to need overhead capital. Now, what kills a lot of businesses when they get started in the first 3 to 5 years is no overhead capital. But now if you're learning that there's programs and systems to give you that overhead capital, so that way you can be comfortable in building your business and supplying to your community and your neighborhoods. That's how you do it. Because if you're going to do business thinking that you're going to be successful, spending the money out of your pocket and running a business, you're going to have some hard times. Not saying that it can't be done, but it's going to be a hard fight.
And also, too, exactly. And also, too, one of the things I want to touch on for those, because I had a conversation with some young people that were adamant about leaving the country and going to live somewhere else. First thing I tell them is, the first thing you want to know is if you can own any land in that country. Can you purchase a home in that country?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you got to do to be able to remotely replace your income and live like you live here? Most people don't know that. Because I know there are some countries where you are forbidden from buying land.
Look at Ghana. Before you're able to do anything, you got to go there and stay 7 years. So hold on, this is supposed to be your home that's welcoming you back, but you got to stay 7 years. Don't that sound like naturalization to you? Ain't that
Sounds
the
like
same
indentured
process?
servitude.
Wow. I was trying to get
Ain't
some
that
you
the same process
yeah,
to
man.
come here?
Servitude.
That's the same process for an immigrant to come here. So
Man.
how is it any better for you if once you leave, you got to be there working, struggling for 7 years to even become a part of their system? So you're gonna leave something that you're a part of for a maybe. You're leaving a definite for a maybe.
And I know for a fact, I've talked to people that actually live and currently live in London and Britain. You don't own the house. You are in a 100-year, 99-year lease.
Who gonna get that
Let's
first?
get a license just for basic television. They gotta pay TV radio license. Come on now, y'all better learn. Look, grass isn't always green on the other side. It's an illusion.
And I look, I got back. Look, I got the opportunity to learn about not France, but Spain's what they call a republic. No, they call it a democratic monarch, where they have a king and a queen. I let that resonate. They still Spain still has a king and a queen, and every piece of property that Spain owns, the king and queen has a castle that they go to and they spend time at. Now, I challenge somebody to do the research on what a republic, a democratic monarch is, and how it operates, and how their laws are. And you tell me if that's a better situation than where you at in this corporate entity called the United States. Now, Ladarian was what Bones was saying is that in some countries you have to stay there 7 years before you can actually become a citizen. Like there are some places that you can stay there forever. You're a citizen, but you can't buy land because you're not from there.
Yep. Better learn these laws.
You
Laws.
can never own property in Bermuda if you're not from Bermuda. If you're not indigenous to Bermuda, you can never own property in Bermuda.
Mm-hmm. So you're gonna give up everything you got here to go someplace to wait 7 years to try to get what you already got here.
That was a genuine laugh too.
They're gonna give up what you got here to go some other place to wait to hope to get back what you gave up. What?
Who gonna stop me now?
Ladarian, that's the reason why you've never heard that before is because again, it's what we're exposed to. If you're not exposed to certain things, you're not going to know certain things. And a lot of us have been what's the term? A lot of us have been indoctrinated by information from people who've never left the state. They've never left their county, never left the United States. So there's a lot of conjecture when people make statements about other countries. They don't know. Like I always tell people, there's a line to get in the United States. There is not a line to leave the United States.
No, there's not. No, there's not. Nobody trying to go nowhere else.
Or when someone makes a narrative, well, the government doesn't like the United States. Well, if you're in a situation where you don't have a democracy, then you're censored heavily, and the news is censored heavily, then the precipice is that they can't stand you. But I know from being in the military, traveling over to different places, they love the United States. That's why so many people are dying to get over here. So don't believe the hype. You have to question the source of the information and where it's coming from. Where did they get their information? Why are they telling you that? What's their premise? What's their precipice? And if that's the case, then why are so many of their people coming over here to live? Because at the end of the day, I am not going to go live somewhere where I can't stand. If I can't stand, for instance, no disrespect to New York. I don't know. I don't have ill will towards New York, but I do have ill will towards New Yorkers that lived in Northern Virginia that came out with an attitude, and because of that, I have a strong dislike for New York. Sorry, that's just me. So I will never live in New York. So it makes no sense for me to talk about New York in a negative fashion and then go live in New York. What kind of sense does that make? That's just me. David Corey says ain't nobody fighting to get in Africa.
Nope.
Antonio says every time I make a comment on chat, somebody at work got a question. They probably watch this waiting for me to get involved. I don't know what to tell you, Antonio. I really don't, bro. They watching.
Yeah, the days of letting somebody tell you something work need to be over. Don't let nobody tell you how something works. Find out for yourself. Research it for yourself. The majority of programs is public info. That you don't need a special pass to find out how these programs work.
The same way that you found out about these YouTube scholars like I did is the same way you can find out about this information. Bones pulled this information off of YouTube, right, Bones?
Directly off of YouTube.
So that video is a YouTube video. I'm just saying.
Directly from the Hood YouTube channel.
Antonio said, dude literally just started asking me a question. I told him to hold on. You should tell him you should hold all questions until after the Grand Rising show. That's what I would do. Free says, she said, let me find out. And David Corey says, 3,000 to build big house in Africa. He says, try that here. Well, if you go to Michigan, you might be able to do it. And if you're under the right program, you might not have to come out your pocket with nothing.
Yesterday, what did you learn? Using Section 184, you could take 40 grand and walk away with 10 houses with a mortgage payment of $480 a month, on the high end $800, and have the access to resell it to people at market value. Come on, man.
We've been indoctrinated to not do the research ourselves. We've been indoctrinated to just listen to people that we identify with and use them as the primary source and then quote what they say. That's dangerous. Yeah, I know that, right?
Wouldn't it make sense if it's a HUD program? Shouldn't the primary source on that be HUD? I'm just saying.
I mean, I would like to think so. At least I would anyway. Grand Rising Copper India. What's going on, brother?
Peace, Copper.
So,
Grand Rising, how's everybody doing?
doing well. Good to hear your voice, bro.
Good in yourself?
Likewise. Can't call it today. I got a little bit of a break, so I'm off.
You cut out.
Oh, sorry. I said I can't call it today. I've been on a little bit of a break, so I wasn't feeling that great the other day, and finally able to get back on. I don't mean to distract from the show.
No, you good. It's all, you never a distraction, bro. You're always an addition. Grand Rising. Look. We gotta keep Copper popping up because right after he popped up, there's Doodoo Vision. What up, Doodoo?
Yeah.
All right.
What's going on? I know. Y'all carpooling. Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
Peace, dude. Peace,
We're
Copper.
gonna find that. Mm-hmm.
LJ Free says they're literally selling homes for $1 to the indigent in Detroit. Hooking them up with HUD 3 changes the game in a major way. That's facts. That's facts. And all we're trying to do is expose y'all to this information. Do the research. How many of y'all, since a lot of this information has been dropped, y'all ain't got to tell on yourselves, but this is something that y'all need to answer yourselves. How many of y'all started applying for some of these loans, or made some phone calls, or actually start doing some research to validate what we're saying? Because we don't want you to just take it on face value. Go out here, make these phone calls, get in contact with these individuals, and let us know if it actually works. Because just because it works for us, we don't know if it doesn't work for you unless you let us know. And again, it's a state by state, county by county situations, and we need to know if you're having a problem or challenge based off of where you're located. One size does not fit all, and just because it's easier somewhere else or difficult somewhere else, that doesn't mean it's not easy or difficult in another place. So we need to know your feedback is invaluable. Why does that word sound disingenuous? Invaluable. Anyway, going off on tangent. So my point is, this information is put out so you can actually go do it, make the phone calls, apply, come back and give us your feedback. Let us know what your challenges are, so we can then help you. It doesn't do any good to just stash the link on a page, and then now you got it. You got to do something with it. So,
And if you have a problem with it, contact the assembly. We have no problem setting up a meeting with you in your area with your HUD representatives. If that's what it takes, then that's what it takes.
Carrie Bay wants to know if there's an email for the carpool.
If it is, Cop and Doodoo got that. They ain't sharing that. We gotta look into that. They got the jet.
So for those of y'all that are coming in and listening, we're basically talking about the Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, dealing with discrimination when it comes to purchasing property and just purchasing power, period, or purchasing opportunities, if you will. And Doodle Vision says 99% of New Yorkers telling you to leave the mainland and go to Africa are here on expired work visas. Why are they not broadcasting their rhetoric from Africa? Ooh.
Good question. A lot of people don't look at that. Majority of people that are trying to tell you to go to Africa, not even hear themselves, not from here themselves. They need permission to get a job.
That's right. And in the absence of that permission, they're hustling. So who are they hustling? They're hustling you. Think about that.
Exactly. They ain't over here hustling the majority of the people. They ain't in our neighborhood selling you stuff, knockoffs, things you don't need.
Yeah, but everybody's in our neighborhood selling that stuff. It got me to thinking. Okay, so work with me, because y'all know I'm a little slow when it comes to stuff. So work with me. If we're supposed to be the minority, right? Why are all of the major industries using hip hop music to sell to a minority group that's only 16, 17% of the population? That does not make business sense.
No, it does not. You're not dumping all that money on your smallest group. And if we so small, why do we spend more than 9 countries? Well, we spend what? There's only 9 countries that generate and spend more money than us as a group. So how can we be so much small of a group? Come on, we need to start thinking that math.
What they're telling us is a violation of economics on a major scale. If we're only 17% of the population, and we're earning, and our earning power is half of the European American born here, then how is it that our purchasing power dwarfs everybody else's? The only way our purchasing power would dwarf everybody else's is that we outnumber everybody significantly, right? Because what we don't make up in mass amounts of income, we make up in mass numbers of bodies or people working.
Just think about it. We don't own the majority of these Fortune 500 companies. The majority of our people are not making these outrageous salaries. So how, as a combined group, we have more than the Europeans in this country, more than the Spanish or any other foreigner in this country? Why are we the top? but we're supposed to be 13 to 16%. But start realizing we are the 1% when it comes to them finances. We just don't know it.
Gotta ask the right questions. Why is everybody advertising to us? Just a thought.
Yeah, and you'll find people that look at the cultural or the popular aspect of Aboriginal culture here, and why it seems to be so infectious around the world, not just in the United States, but people don't think about the logistic reason why they take Aboriginal culture and turn that into pop culture. Why was pop culture built through the conduit of people like Michael Jackson? Why was James Brown and Muddy Waters and all of these other famous musicians? Why were these people the people who started the cultures, or at least the implementation of culture, not just in the United States but around the world? These people were able, in their day, they were able to go anywhere in the world and be celebrated like they are here. There's a reason why they do that, and it's not just, you know, the popular aspect or the, you know, the catchiness. No. There's a logistics to it as well, and that can't be hidden. It can't be hidden like the same way, like I say, the financial part of it can't be hidden, because if anybody's paying attention, they'll start to run out of excuses. I think what the most recent statistics, between 14 and 17% of the U.S. population has this much control over the creation and the evolution of culture. And not just culture, the spending that runs that culture, spending that culture fuels. Because, like you said, our people aren't making as much money, but they're spending what they make. While you have much more, you know, you have other groups of people that save more, sure. They're not bringing in that much more where their saving is offsetting it. So the numbers just don't add up.
It's that new math.
You know, how David Corey said, a lot of people don't even know that the Jacksons tied back to a tribe. Beyonce knows ties back to a tribe. Lena Horne tied back to a tribe. James Brown tied back to a tribe. Let's not be gullible all our lives.
That's right. Jimi Hendrix tied back to a tribe too.
Yep. Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry walked around with his identification telling you who he was.
That's right.
Free put in, she says, "Oh, we're graduated from 13% to 17% of the population during my lifetime. How benevolent of them to adjust a bold-faced lie before I transition." Only thing we're asking is that you ask the right questions and stop taking things at face value, and pay attention to the source of the information. Who's telling you this and why? And if you don't know why they're telling you this, and they're not telling you why they're telling you this, and you don't know who they are, then, you know, what's that phrase? Stranger danger?
Yep.
So let's look at statutes and regulations. We're talking about the Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. They got Title VI Statute 42 U.S. They got a PDF for it. This is Department of Justice Title VI Regulations, 28 CFR Code 42-101, which is a PDF. So there's a PDF for every statute and regulation.
Yes, there is.
So instead of, okay, so now I'll be petty. So instead of learning the UCC code, Why don't you learn the statutes and regulations to something that's gonna put some money in your pocket? I'm just saying.
Makes sense to me. Stay away from them fraudulent UCCs. Learn what it is.
Free says we produce like rabbits. Yeah. That's just me. I could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first or the last time. Then they talk about Title VI regulations of other federal agencies. So not only is there Title VI regulations for the Department of Justice and HUD, there are Title VI regulations that deal with other federal agencies that prohibit race, color, and national origin discrimination.
Yeah.
Doodle Vision says PDFs and PowerPoints for all this information is available for free. Yes, you do not have to pay for this information. It is free public information.
All it takes is some time to type into your phone or computer, and voila. Download it and read it at your leisure if you choose.
If you choose. So it also gives you Title VI materials, the Title VI legal manual, the Title VI briefs and opinions from the appellate section of the Civil Rights Division, joint guidance on the voluntary use of race, Office of Civil Rights at the Department of Education and Education Opportunity section of the Civil Rights Division at the U.S. Department of Justice. Memorandum of Understanding on Environmental Justice and Executive Order 12898. It's a PDF. Then you have, hold on, let me let them in. All right, Copper, you back in. So there's a lot of information that there's available, but we wanted to make you aware that, along with 184, HUD 184, Title VI is important because it prevents discrimination. Because, of course, that is something that you're going to face. I mean, let's be real. We're not naive. We're not trying to perpetuate that you be naive. But in order for you to be discriminated, you got to apply. Don't assume you're going to be discriminated and then don't apply. I mean, does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it no other way.
Yeah, preemptive disenfranchisement will always make a group of people lose.
Say
Okay.
that one more.
No. Stop. So instead of using them big words, act like you're talking to me. Act like you're talking to me.
Sorry about that. You'll never win if you never show up to play, in other words.
Thank you. So yeah, because he said preemptive. After he said preemptive, I'm like, preemptive? Wait a minute. I think I know what that means. So see, I got sidetracked. So yeah, the perception is if you think you're going to be discriminated against, you won't even try.
And that's what been programmed into the majority of us. Oh, the system not gonna let you do it. Oh, the white man ain't gonna let you do it. Oh, you can't do it because you come from here, come from there. Stop letting people tell you a try always trumps a failure. A try will always trump a failure.
That's right.
You got
And that's what
try,
okay.
and it didn't come out how you wanted it. At least you got up and made an attempt. And you can come back again and improve on what you did the first time. If you never try, you can't do anything. And why are you complaining?
That's exactly true. And when you look at it, every generation complains that it's worse off than the last generation. And we always wonder why that is, but nobody ever really actually looks into that. Well, okay, why is it that we go after less of what's entitled to us? Why is it that we try less hard to get what we've been saying for generations needs to be done? It happens because we just assume a level of of disenfranchisement. We assume a level of disillusion. We assume a level of displacement that the previous generation had, and assume ours is going to be worse. And we keep assuming that things are going to get worse. Are they ever going to get any better? Is somebody ever going to show up and be like, oh, you know what? We're going to make everything right with the world. You got your opportunity, and it's been open for generations. We've got generations of people that have not walked through it, that have not taken the time to figure this out. And that's where you got to put a stop to it.
That means you got to take responsibility, huh?
Yeah, heaven forbid, we have to be responsible for their outcomes.
I mean, look at it like this. Look at our own Danielle Jeffries. She learned about the information, learned about these programs, and applied herself to it. And look at the work that she was able to get done by applying herself to it. And she did the norm, how a lot of us do. Listen to the negative stuff people try to tell you about these programs, about trying to follow your dreams or build the infrastructures you tried to build, but she didn't. By using these same programs and some of these resources and accomplishing her goals. So how can a person say it does not work when you have actual people 365 days a year who are here accessing and applying these steps?
So while we were talking, I went online because y'all know me. I'm just gonna I'm going to continue to look up some things. So there are civil rights requirements for Title VI, right? I'm gonna put this link in the back chat, on the chat, excuse me. Because just like there are things that cause you to qualify for something, there are some things that cause you to be disqualified. So you might want to know that, right? Because if you're doing something that's going to cause you to be disqualified, you can stop doing it, so then you can qualify. So this is on the HHS.gov civil rights website. U.S. Department of Health and Humane Services, another government website. So that means this has been up since the internet, since other internet's been up. All right, so it says civil rights requirements. And it all start out with the let me make this bigger so I can read it. It says Title VI prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, or national origin in any program or activity that receives federal funds or other federal financial assistance. Programs that receive federal funds cannot distinguish among individuals on the basis of race, color, or national origin, either directly or indirectly, in the types, quality, or timeliness of program services, aids, or benefits that they provide, or the manner in which they provide them. This prohibition applies to intentional discrimination as well as to procedures, criteria, or methods of administration that appear neutral but have a discriminatory effect on individuals because of their race, color, or national origin. So that means even if it's unintentional or it's perceived to be unintentional, it's still illegal. Policies and practices that have such an effect must be eliminated unless a recipient can show that they were necessary to achieve a legitimate, non-discriminatory objective. This is the loophole. Policies and practices that have such an effect must be eliminated unless a recipient can show that they were necessary to achieve legitimate, non-discriminatory objective. So then it's going to go on to explain what that means. Even if there is such a reason, the practice cannot continue if there are alternatives that would achieve the same objective, but that would exclude fewer minorities. Persons with limited English proficiency must be afforded a meaningful opportunity to participate in programs that receive federal funds, policies, and practices that may not deny or have the effect of denying persons with limited English proficiency equals access to federal funded programs for which such persons qualify. That would be including people who speak their indigenous language, but not limited to that. So, set forth below are examples of conduct that may violate Title VI, meaning that you would not qualify for.
Break it on down.
Well, let me make sure I read this right. Set forth below are examples of conduct that violate Title VI. That means you cannot be discriminated from receiving Title VI. A welfare benefit provider restricts training and or work assignment based on his client's race or national origin by assigning minority clients to jobs that pay less or have fewer opportunities for permanent employment than work assignments given to the non-minority clients. So just because you are a welfare recipient does not mean that you should be restricted. For somebody that's a non-minority client. A predominantly minority community is provided lower benefits, fewer services, or is subject to harsher rules than a predominantly non-minority community. I'm gonna read that again. Doodoo Vision says being stuck on stupid is not a disability. Well, it's not a legal disability.
It's a choosable one, choosable disability.
Or not a recognized disability. How about that? So it says a predominantly minority community is provided lower benefits, fewer services, or is subject to harsher rules than a predominantly non-minority community. So I'm gonna tell you what I see here. There are a lot of underserved communities. Will we all agree on that?
Yes.
Yep.
So based off of this Civil Rights Act of Title VI, they cannot be discriminated against, which basically means that if you are near an underserved community, you should be able to offer the same services that other communities are afforded without them being discriminated against. And because no one has done it yet, does not mean it can't be done.
The only reason why it's not done, you hit it on the head. The only reason it's not done, because we're not stepping forward in our communities to get it done. We're too busy looking for the easy way out. Not all, you know.
So that's the way I look at it. So you cannot be turned down from receiving funds to benefit a community because they are impoverished. Those would be the main communities that you would want to serve. Those would be the main communities that you would want to use the U.S.C grants, the HUD 184 grants, the HUD Section 3 grants. These are the main communities. The more impoverished the community is, the more funds that you will qualify for, the more work that you can do. I'm sorry, go ahead, Bones.
Look at it this way, y'all. They are doing that. What do you think is allowing them to do so-called gentrification to our neighborhood?
Exactly. That's where I was going. Doodle Vision says, because we, Indians, did not take advantage of the program, other groups, LBGTQST.
Elemental P 123-658 / doing it.
Bones, you just made me think. Doodle, you just made me think of something. I stand corrected. The last community, the last minority group to get civil rights was not white women. It's the LGBTQ community.
Yep.
I stand corrected. I apologize. That's why they've always compared themselves to African Americans, because I'm sorry, go ahead, Bones.
That's why they use the African Americans to get their recognition. Who's the forefront faces of this community when they were trying to get their rights? Who did they use to get their rights?
It's the same organization that used our women to get their rights in the 1920s.
All they do is invite us to the party so they can get an invitation to the resources that's on the table. Then once they do that, they don't need you no more. Then you see the faces change. Look at Black Lives Matter from when it started and look at it now.
So you could be a European that fits under the moniker of someone in the LGBTQ community, and forgive me if I've left something out, and fall under the minority. And you can't be discriminated against because you fall into that minority class because you've been discriminated against. Oh my gosh.
Yep. See, all they did was created smaller subgroups to take more pieces of the pie that we wasn't accessing.
Wow.
Because we want to say, run from the government.
Yeah.
Oak Cliff Tiff said, Jesse, I should go ahead. Copper.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say that hang on a second. I was gonna say that they're the same ones that invite these folks. I like that Oak Cliff Tiff said that he ushered them in. That's what they do. They have certain folks that they usher in. They roll in and present, and they put a nice backstory on them. They put a nice history on them, and then they come in. They get the support of our people, and that support usually involves us either going to Africa or disengaging from the government and this and that, and from the same benefits and stuff that were already laid out for us. And then we complain that we still got nothing because some other society, some fictional dominant society, has kept it from us. They haven't kept us from anything. We've kept it from ourselves.
So this got me to thinking. The most recent organization to be basically birthed to where they went from, lack of better terms, nothing to being one of the premier voting fractions in history is the LGBTQ community, right? And all they did was take advantage of everything that we had access to that we didn't take advantage of. So if that's not an example of how you can go from last to first, I don't know what example is a better example. Or am I missing something?
People need to start looking at what Obama was put there for. He was put in the office to remove the so-called black agenda forever off the table.
Exactly. He was there to sever any ties that we had to our ancestors, not just in culture and in society, but on paper as well. From a government standpoint, it was to disconnect us. It was to align us with some other place we never been to or been from. And it was to allow other groups to come in. And this is where you start getting intersectionality. You start getting, people that are looking at how many places their identity intersect and using that as a means to somehow formulate, their level of minority or their level of oppression, and essentially use that for the same benefits that were set up for us 60, 70 years ago.
Look at it this way. This dude's supposed to be an African American, but when he gets into office, he used executive powers to bring who to the forefront?
The forefront, the one of
not the so-called people who image that he's sitting in office with. He didn't go in there and put no legislation on the table for the so-called Black American / African American. That LGBTQ element of P group got it.
And see, the whole process was slow, and I was sitting there watching it from the beginning. The whole process was really slow. At first, it was about being a community organizer, being connected to the community, being connected to the so-called African American, right? It wasn't about any of that. Matter of fact, he sidestepped and skirted in whenever they asked him about that. He said, "Well, I'm not going to be against these folks, but I'm jury's out. I'm gonna leave it alone for now." And with that, and his use of image, his use of the I guess the presentation they gave of him, the change and all. Remember, go back to 2008. You'll see all of this stuff. That helped him get in. Once he got in the door, like you said, the executive orders began to start.
All right, so
the factors began to start. Sorry.
Now I just want to make sure that we in the chat, we stay we step away or we refrain from any hate speech, because that's not what we're about. We're just trying to give you an example of what group is taken some information that we chose not to use and has become very powerful politically. Um, you know, what our views of them is irrelevant at the end of the day because we're giving you an example and exposing you to exactly how it took place because many of us are old enough to witness how that community went from public humiliation and discrimination to now being one of the more politically powerful groups on the planet. So I just want to put that out there.
No,
Go ahead.
that's a very good point, and that should be highlighted and bolded because we this is not about discriminating against other people. This is not about our people taking anything out on other people. This is about understanding how we've been set up and distracted. Okay, because other people have taken it. You leave $100 bill on the street. Somebody else picks it up, and you come back a day later and say, why is my $100 bill there? You can't really be mad at the guy that picked it up. Okay, so we got to understand the context of this. Just because a lot of these people are coming in and benefited from these provisions, doesn't mean we're taking aim at them. That's a fight that a lot of people that are hustling that have been hustling us want us to sit there and have out with these other folks. That like Thomas said, that's hate speech. We don't need to get into that. What we need to understand is why and how we've been distracted like this to allow other people to come in and take our $100 bill. Okay, and how do we go back and how do we change this up to make this right? I mean, I'm not telling people, how to think about other folks, how to view other folks, nothing like that. I'm not getting into that. But what I am saying is, and I think what the whole panel here is saying, and what our community at large should be talking about is how do we go back and how do we fix this? How do we start paying attention to what was provisioned for us? And how do we take advantage of that? How do we utilize the powers that we've been given?
Facts. And stop pointing the finger all the time. Start taking responsibility.
Yeah, because regardless of exactly, David, it's a distraction, and what we're not trying to do is trying to get distracted or send our brothers and sisters off on a tangent, start hating somebody because they're taking advantage of something that we as a whole did not. So I just wanted to put that out there. But if you think about it, it was really, you figure let's just give Jesse Jackson and Rainbow Coalition credit. That started in '88. So from '88 to 2019 is pretty much where we're at.
It's kind of funny though that, and I mean no disrespect with this, he's supposed to be so-called African American, ones that's responsible for us getting that title, but then turn around and call his coalition the Rainbow Coalition.
The question should be why? Why the Rainbow Coalition?
Think about it. He was one of the main people responsible for us being identified as African American. So why wouldn't his group have African American on it? Why?
Right, because it was about furthering the miscellany, making it about everybody. And that's the first step towards intersectionality, where everybody is more concerned about their own personal identity and making a provision for specific identities and about what the Civil Rights Act was for. And if anybody, with this said now, what Bones just said, if anybody has any disillusion about the idea of Jesse and a lot of these other so-called civil rights leaders having really been for what that was about, I mean, that should end at this point right now, because as you can see, this is the beginning of the dismantling of that whole movement, of what everything that movement was about. Exactly. It was a controlled demolition. Now, I'm not going to get too much into this, but I mean, if anybody remember some videos that came out a few years ago from Brother Dick Gregory and what he was trying to show people, that's what this is all about. It was all a takedown of what they had worked to set up.
Think about it. The title African American was created for you 1988, 1989. But when was it legally your classification? Not until 2000. So how can you see anything before the year 2000 saying African American and it's supposed to be us?
Distractions.
Yep. All distractions. And around this time in the late 90s, you started seeing a whole bunch of TV shows and movies showing so-called black people being either being connected with or going to Africa. Think about how this isn't just something the government rolled out of politicians. This is something that you've been seeing play out in TV shows and movies too.
Man, in the 90s, there was more black television and movies than any other era. The 90s. They put us in the forefront. They made us feel a particular way. It was conditioning us. You gotta realize they use 10 to 20 years to condition you before they actually implement these programs.
Yep.
Because think about it, when the 2000s came, that's when Bush was telling our people, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about that job. Don't worry about that capital. Go get this house. And by 2008, they had damn near all of us looking retarded.
Mm-hmm. We couldn't afford. And then they blamed us for taking the mortgages that we couldn't afford because they said, well, we didn't make you take it. You know, we marketed it. We told you go ahead and do it. We encouraged you to do it, but we didn't make you sign that paper. So it's your fault.
Nobody noticed. Right after the housing crash, there was a mass amount of information pertaining to sovereign citizens released.
They just so conveniently provided an easy way out of you having to pay your mortgage or having to pay the bank. See, we get into these contracts and then we look for the easy way out to just say, well, you know, I don't have to deal with it because, you know, I don't partake in this system, but I use money and I drive a car. I do all these things that are within the government, but I'm not in the government. I'm outside of it.
Well, what that does is also further propagate the fact that we lazy and we want things the easy way. Because when people come over here from other countries, they see that. They're like, well, why would you buy a house that you couldn't afford? Or why would you put yourself in a situation when you have access to HUD Section 3, when you have access to something where you don't have to use your own money? Now, if you can look at it from that perspective, you can understand why foreigners have to look upon us the way that they do, because they're under the guise that we know this information, and that we're doing it willfully. Something to think about.
There you go.
And you got to look at it. They knew what they was doing, because at the same time when all this happened, it was 2008. When the whole using your social security card and your number as a bank account to pay off bills. 2008 is the year that took off. So you got to ask yourself, why did that take off at the same time the majority of our people was suffering from these houses? Now the banks got full ownership over these houses because they bet when they gave you that loan, they bet that you couldn't pay the loan back. So it was a win-win. They always use us to take more and more and more. Exactly. We just not recognize it.
Yeah. And you can tell that they didn't want to have to deal with the fallout from it, because anybody that's watched any documentaries about the 2008 so-called collapse was that these mortgage companies and these hedge funds were slicing and dicing they were bulk packaging these mortgages, and they were selling them all, and they were just spinning them around so that way whoever bought them today sold them tomorrow, so they weren't on the hook for
Yep.
that loan not being paid off.
Well, is that the same thing they're doing with the student loans today?
That's the exact same
Why
thing.
there's so many student loan companies that are buying out student loans?
Because the new
Yeah.
money is debt. You make money off of debt. This is the thing people have to realize when they keep talking about finances and think they got it and don't. If nobody goes to the bank and take out a loan, there's no cash circulating, relatives. I'm finna say this again. If people do not take out loans from the bank, there's no money circulating. And the catch is this: the Fed, if you go and you got $100,000 loan, the Fed only prints $100,000. But we all know if you borrowed $100,000 from the bank, now you owe the bank $130,000, $140,000. The Fed never prints the interest. That's why it takes 20 to 30 years to pay off a mortgage. First 10 to 15 years on your house ain't nothing but interest you're paying, especially if you're paying the minimum.
And not only that, if you think about it, it doesn't matter who gets the debt. The money is going to be printed. So that's the reason why you got to look at it from the standpoint of HUD Section 3, the USDA grants, 184 programs. All of them are what? Loan programs. It's a matter of whose name is on that debt. They don't care whose name is on the debt as long as there's a debt created. They're willing to go into debt for it. And Due Division says, give the people something they can't afford so they can take it back. That term used to be called being an Indian giver. Now it's called capitalism. Wow. I mean, it's the same thing, just a different setup. You're right. Antonio says that savings divided up. He says that savings divided you getting your savings account is the interest you're due for electronically lending your money to the bank. But here's the thing, and we're not here to bang on the government or be anti-government. What we're trying to do is give you an inference or a point of reference. It doesn't matter who takes the loan out. They just need the loan to be taken out. Even so much so, they're willing to take the loan out for you and give you the option to not have to pay it back, because what they're going to do is they're going to package it up and resell it anyway. So if that's the case, why use your money when you don't have to?
Bingo. Now we talking business.
And we talking currency. You see why the Federal Reserve had to set up a system of constant inflation in order to handle the movement of money and the proliferation of money like this.
Another thing that they're not allowed to discriminate against, because I'm reading from the civil rights HSS government talking about the things they can't discriminate against. So I'll go ahead and post it in the back chat again, because we know how we do. We get busy talking and sharing it, and people coming in like, what are they talking about? So I'm putting the link back in the chat. So these are civil rights requirements, things that prevent you from being discriminated against. And we got all that information in that building just from the second one. So let's go to bullet point number 3. A local welfare office makes assumptions regarding a person's citizenship, immigration status, and eligibility for benefits based on the person's surname, accent, or ability to speak English, and ask only those persons who look or sound foreign about their citizenship and immigration status. So they're doing something that enumerators would do. They're making an assumption without asking the correct question. Due Division says, doesn't Lady Danielle have a series of videos about using other people's money? Yes, she does, Due Division.
Graduated debt free off of it. What they really talking about.
Darian Wood said, people know that's what get up under my skin, that we scared to say or do anything about it, or think it's just something to know and not move on. But we'll take all the other names they'll call us. Again, you got to realize we've been indoctrinated. So let's look at it from this standpoint. in the 1990s, we went from being black and Negro to African American. There was such a push. We even had our own network where everything was promoted for comedy. And if you look at it, for the most part, we were viewed through the lens as individuals that were either middle class, upper middle class, or professionals, right? Because you had everything from Cosby's to Martin. And
Yeah.
everybody was either they're college graduates or they had a good job, right? So
Yep.
there was this perception that we was trying to live up to that we accepted because we are prone and have been prone to television propaganda. So from the 19 so in the 1900s, 1990s, they hit us with all this African American talk, and then in 2000 they tell us that we have the option to self-identify as African American. And then 8 years after that, the housing market crashed, and we were some of the largest individuals that were affected by that. Right? That sounds like a setup to me. Not only that, but there were HUD 3 programs in place that we did not take advantage of because we did not know existed that allowed them to capitalize off of these loans that were foreclosed on. Remember, we did a show about that. So we're being guided and our steps are being directed down a path to do things, and they're capitalizing off our every action. Doodle Vision says, I've waited 15 years for this time. He says James is home now. Well, James, Doodle Vision, we thank you for being an individual that has opened a door for us to see this information, and so we can take advantage and we can understand it, because indoctrination, whether it's from the government or from our own people, is indoctrination. Everybody's getting paid off of us. Everybody's getting paid off of us. Even our own people are getting paid off of us.
Then I'm glad you mentioned even the creation of BET. Nobody noticed they created BET, used us, pushed the narrative, then sold it to another group. BET is owned by Viacom. BET, MTV, VH1 are all owned by Viacom. Been this way for a good minute.
We're so hooked on TV now. So now the new thing is no longer television. The new thing is what? YouTube, reality TV. All this stuff
Yep.
is planned.
But even with the reality TV, you don't see how they use us to spread it. You didn't see how they use the entertainment and the ignorance to push it, to get everybody conditioned to that's how it should be. Watching our men and women disrespect each other is entertainment now. Watching children disrespect the elderly is entertainment now.
That's right.
It's crazy. Things that 20 years ago that we wouldn't even think about doing because we knew the consequences that we were going to get from our elders. We rushing to see who can do it better now. Like, for real?
Yeah. So basically, it is illegal for a local welfare office to make assumptions about a person's citizenship, immigration status, and eligibility for benefits based off of a surname, accent, ability to speak English, and only ask a person who look or sound foreign about their citizenship and immigration status. So basically, from what I'm understanding, they're supposed to ask everybody about this.
Yep.
Grand Rising, Delpha Degrees, aka Danielle Jeffers.
Peace, Danielle. Grand Rising. Keep up that good work.
Doodle Vision says Belle Biv DeVoe told us BET, MTV, VH1 Now every time you see me, I'm having fun. Ain't nothing changed. Remix.
2020, let's get it.
2020 is hindsight. So are we gonna get caught up in witnessing hindsight? Or
You know,
are we gonna take advantage of this?
and like Dudu said, a lot of people didn't recognize that they used the music to indoctrinate us. People realize our first contact of being African came through the music that they pushed on us.
Oh my gosh.
Let's go back to the 90s. Right after 89, 99, before we legally became African American on the census in 2000, they took 10 years of hip hop groups telling you about Africa. Come on now, the 90s we were rocking the African leather medallions, the colors. Yep. Come on now,
right.
Going Africa. On 2000.
Even our movie producers, we're doing the same thing.
Yeah, look at the Spike Lee movies of the 90s. Look at just the so-called black movies of the 90s alone, and notice how all of them got the same subject matter of the 90s.
David Corey says, Planet Rock, African Bambaataa.
Yeah. Hip-hop came in trying to put you off in Africa. The commercialized form of it. People don't realize African Bambaataa and all them. They were commercialized. Why you think, man, how you think they had videos and you had other artists still on the street that you had to go to street shows just to hit it down? Come on, man.
Yeah, cross colors. Yeah, they was rocking African colors. Man, I had a pair, I'm ashamed to say this, but I gotta tell the truth, full disclosure. I had a pair of red, black, and green loafers.
You shouldn't have told nobody else that.
I'm gonna tell it. I mean, it is what it is. Look, that might be a picture of me when I'm on somewhere, so I might as well own it now, right?
yeah, don't get out in front of that.
They were like, hey, for this buddy.
Emails out. Nobody talks about this from here.
We were all like that. Come on now, British Knights, Buffalinos. Look at the symbolism that we were proudly rocking and putting out there in the media. I remember when the Cosby Show went to the all-African introduction of how the show came.
Yep.
But they all African colors and doing the dances. Come on, man.
Come on, son.
And remember you had the daughter that went away to Africa for a while because she just they couldn't do nothing with her, so they just disappeared her and sent her to Africa. They had to come back and they playing it all out.
Lisa. No, not Jaleesa. What's her name? Denise. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the college student where they did the spin off of a different world.
So let me ask this question, because I didn't go to a HBCU. I went to a tech school. Is African American Studies a course that you have to take at a HBCU, or is it an elective?
No, it's an elective, and it didn't come in class until recent times. You go back to that, man. Let me hush. African American Studies in the 80s and the early 90s. You wasn't even African American. So what was you studying?
Exactly.
Cliff Tiff said Oprah was leading the way. Yeah, she was leading the way too. Grand Rising James Gilmore. Oh yeah, Golden Moon says it's an elective, but it seemed like everybody I know that went to a HBCU took it as a course.
I didn't have time for that. I took history because it was required. All the other stuff was more important to me at the time. So,
Doodle Vision says you have a group in the conscious community selling those RVG sneakers today. They're made of 100% mosquito skin.
Get that metal pride.
The Air Max 1890s.
Oh yeah, Danielle says they have African American department at predominantly white colleges. She said she studied it. Wow, at Virginia Tech. Okay, I didn't even know that.
You find, this is the funny thing, you'll find African American Studies as a class more in the white universities. And I'm just using the term white to show the difference. Yes, in some universities, you will find it as a class. In all so-called schools, it's an elective.
She said Danielle said it was her minor before she changed it.
Hold up, wait a minute. We ain't doing this.
So even the welfare office is not supposed to discriminate based off a surname and things of that nature. Doodle Vision says, yeah, Europeans are teaching African American studies classes.
Ain't that something though? And I always said this. They keep saying African American. So where is this African American scholar that sprung up that has all this history and information? I'm still waiting to find him or her. Somebody please point me in the right direction.
Oh, you talking about the the first, the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay.
African American studies started with the African American.
Who
I'm
is the
just
father of African American studies? Actually, I would like to know that. Father or mother?
Father of the mother of it.
Like,
Well,
come
we
back.
know who it is. I'm just saying, we know who it is. It ain't no African.
It ain't no African.
Yeah, so
What Sinbad said?
Danielle says, she says it's a heavy focus on African dysphoria with a separate American Indian department. Well, of course. She said the two never intersect.
Nope.
Mm.
that's just like trying to make the African art in the museum intersect with the Egyptian art. They'll never do it, ever, ever, ever. They got to keep those two things separate. They always keep those separate from the Greeks too, if you notice as well. There's an institutional, because remember, a lot of what goes on in these museums gets funded by and played out by the anthropology and archaeology departments in these colleges.
And those departments are funded by private foundations. Go get the book.
Right.
Go get the book, Dark Money. You'll find out where a lot of these things are coming from. Don't listen to me. Check it out.
And let's also remember, as we were saying last night, a lot of these museums, them collections that you see in the museum, that's some wealthy person's private collection on loan to the museum.
Yep.
Don't take my word for it. Just look it up. Don't take nothing I say. Just look it up. That's somebody's private collection on display.
Exactly.
And look, Big Hawk made up a good point. He says, talking about Martin, he says that Tommy had a good job that ain't nobody know what he did. That was a government contract job he couldn't talk about.
They couldn't talk about it. Tommy was working for government, y'all. Government.
That's what I always thought with watching the show back again. I was like, well, maybe he just worked as a contractor and can't really talk about, he got like an EA or something.
Exactly. And somebody that was in that environment, I can relate.
Yep, I didn't really understand it then, but I definitely understand it now.
Mm-hmm.
Oak Cliff said Tommy was the plug. Y'all know that.
Doodle Vision says Rachel Dolezal is implementing the African American experience. Wow. All right, so some of the other things that this website talks about as far as discrimination and things that you are not allowed to discriminate against. It says, in determining eligibility of Asian applicants for TANF benefits, a local agency requires substantially more and different documentary proof of citizenship and immigration status than it does in determining the eligibility of non-Asians. Wow. And it says local welfare office located in a neighborhood with a number of immigrant groups provides no language assistance to TANF applicants or participants who are limited English proficient, but advise them to bring friends and relatives as interpreters to their appointments. There are people that do that. There are organizations that do that here in Woodbridge. That's illegal, from what I'm seeing, because people don't read and they don't know their rights. They just accept it. Or a training program changes limited English proficient or a LEP class member for interpreter service that are needed for the class member to benefit from the training program. A local welfare office which regularly serves LEP persons only makes interpreters available for persons applying for benefits 3 hours a week.
Yeah, the interpreter must be on site and on staff as long as they are open for operation, because you never know coming through that door. And
Doodle Vision says most use their children to interpret. Yeah, like I've had clients that were Spanish speaking, they would have their children come and interpret. And Free says that is true, so true. Many as young as 8 or 9. So these are things that are we all know in our community that are violations, and that you can actually have a legitimate lawsuit. But because people don't read, they don't even know that they have the advantage of getting this taken care of. So if any of this stuff is going on in your community, you have the right to utilize these programs that we're telling you about to further your community without discrimination. They even have a filing complaint section. You can file a complaint online. There's a complaint process. Tells you what to expect. Laws and regulations enforced by the OCR. I mean, so they're eliminating every excuse one could have in the event of not applying for this information or applying for these grants. Why aren't enough of our conscious community people offering or letting you at least know about this stuff? Because this is not something that we started. This is not something we invented. We don't own this information. We just exposed you to information that's literally over 55 years old. So we weren't first with it. We didn't invent it. We don't have any proprietary oversight over this.
Mm-hmm.
So, something to think about.
It really is. It really, really is.
So there is literally no excuse. You could actually create your own community.
Yep.
Like the LBGTQ community did.
Element appeal.
You could actually do exactly what they did. There's a blueprint on how they did it. All you gotta do, cause y'all know me, I look stuff up. And to give you the correct information, because all of this is on Wikipedia from what I found. When it talks about the LGBTQ community, it actually got started in 1955. Hold on, with the daughters of Billetis, also called the DOB. Or the Daughters. They were formed in San Francisco, California in 1955 for lesbian couples including Phyllis Lyon and Dale Martin. And they had the distinction of being the first legally married gay couple in the U.S. at the state of the historic San Francisco 2004 same-sex wedding. And it said
1955, huh?
Mm-hmm. So
Like
this,
before
so here's
the right shifts, huh?
so you're right. So this is how it was listed. So pay attention to the wording. Now that y'all know about nonprofits, and now that y'all know about these organizations and how funds are tied into, this should help you wake up and understand how things are being done. So I'm reading right under where it says a daughter. Matter of fact, let me put this in the back check, because for those that that want to start their own thing, here's a blueprint of how it was done. For those of you who watch sports and talk about going from worst to first, that's a blueprint right here how it's done. So I'm just going to read this brief insert, and I want y'all to pay attention to the language, understanding how nonprofits work and how these HUD funding and USDA programs tie in. So it goes on to read, it says, their marriage was voided 6 months later by the California Supreme Court. The Daughters of Billetis was the first lesbian civil and political civil rights organization in the United States. I'm going to read that again. They were the first lesbian civil and political rights organization in the United States. Now tell me what their Tell me what 501c they had. You think it was either a 4, 5, or 6? I'll
It
wait.
would have to be. It would have to be because they have the ability to affect political campaigns. So it would have to be.
Right. Once you said political, yeah.
It said they was the first lesbian civil and political rights organization in the United States. The organization formed in San Francisco in 1955 and was conceived as a social alternative to lesbian bars, which were subject to raids and police harassment. As the DLB gained members, their focus shifted to providing support to women who were afraid to come out. The DLB followed the model of the homophile movement as developed by the Mattachine Society by encouraging its members to assimilate as much as possible into prevailing heterosexual culture. The DLB advertised itself as a women's organization for the purpose of promoting the integration of the homosexuality into society. Organization for the purpose of promoting the integration of the homosexual into society. That's what that purpose was.
One more time, please, one more time, so that can sink in.
The DLB advertised itself as a women's organization for the purpose of promoting the integration of the homosexual into society. Then says when the club realized that they were not allowed to advertise their meetings in the newspaper, Lyon and Martin began to print group newsletters, the latter. In October 1956, it became the first nationally distributed lesbian publication in the U.S. and was distributed to closely guarded lists of subscribers due to rational fear of exposure. Barbara Giddings was the editor of the latter from 1863 to 1968 when she passed her editor Barbara Greer, who greatly expanded it until the publication met its end in 1972 due to a lack of funding. Doodle Vision says integration equals infiltration. Women's organization. C.O. Cliff Tiff got it. It means it was a non-profit entity. So they started taking advantage of this back in the 50s.
So like I said again, now apply the 1964, 1968 Civil Rights Act to what you know what was formed in 1955 and who was doing all the arguing for rights at this time. Who were them bills for?
Ladarian Wood says, what? Sounds like Negro integration 2.0 in women. Since these European females took over your black marches.
Yes.
Identity theft all over again.
And this is not the first time it happened. When they got their rights in the early 1900s, who did they use? When they were fighting at Baker's Rebellion, who did they use? When they had the problems in Virginia outlawing marriage, who did they use?
Doodle just says it started during the women's suffrage. Basically 1918 to 1920s.
Yep. That's when the title black came off of a particular group and got assigned to us. 1920.
Timelines are very important, people. Timelines are very important. So I only sent that link not to have you feel a certain type of way about the individuals or the organization, but to give you an example of what they did to become a political powerhouse. They started with a nonprofit. Don't believe me, do your research. Please do your research.
Mm-hmm.
So, you say what you want to say, feel how you want to feel, but while everybody talking, that organization put the work in, and now they are forced to be reckoned with politically. Say something discriminatory against the LBGTQ if you want to and see what happened.
Oh, Cliff mentioned somewhere else. She was like, Big Gov said, put your man out and we got a job for you. By knowing that, let's go on back to the 70s and the 80s. By knowing that, who were in more single households, melanated women or white women? Who were raising their children in single family homes way more than we was in the 50s, 60s, and 80s? Come on, let's get this up. You're going to find out that a lot of these programs, these food stamp programs and stuff, were designed with them women in mind. Who gained the most off of affirmative action? Who gains the most off of food stamps in this country in 2019? Not us. Who's collecting the majority of the subsidies in this country? Not us.
Free says it's insane or even genius to disenfranchise families like that. Who was it that came up with the abortion? It wasn't.
It was them. What we got to remember is this. What ended up happening was they came and they used our energy, you know what I'm saying, to get it on the table. And then once they got their benefits, we started applying for the same benefits and making adjustments to their lifestyle. Like I said, in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, you were more likely to see one of their households than it was ours. Because a lot of us, if your mother and father wasn't right, your grandparents, your aunties and uncles, that was in our culture. So who really had a problem with their men not being at home, with their men not being there for the children, raising the children? See, what happened was we started accessing programs that were never designed for us. And you can see the damages.
Yeah, but we only access the programs that were detrimental to us, not beneficial.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. When you look at affirmative action, you would think that it was designed for melanated people. In reality, it was designed for white women. We just happen to benefit because we're a minority. We're labeled as a minority. But who benefited the most? For all these programs that came out of that movement, who benefited the most? And like we was talking, now these white women, they can start companies and we're not banking against nobody. They can start companies, nonprofits and all this, get these degrees, get this funding, and go right back to the European man and make him CEO and president of these Fortune 500 companies.
Yep.
Affirmative action put more of them through college with degrees than us. Check the numbers. They tell you over the last 20 years there was a large growth in the amount of women graduating from college. You just assumed they meant our women.
No, yeah, but they were talking about across the board.
Yep, all across the board, women. I'm finna say it again. This whole movement, at this time, the Aboriginal man had no power to enforce anything on the Aboriginal woman. So that whole women's lib fight never our fight. It was a fight that what they always do, they sucker us into giving up our energy for what they need. We are the ones that get it popping, and once we get it popping, they replace us. Look at every major move. We always there on the front lines, always been.
So it sounds like we create the momentum with our energy, and then they ride that momentum and get rid of it. Once the momentum train gets going, then they throw us off the train.
Right. So now you see why Does everybody see why there's a need for a permanent underclass? There's a need for a group of people that are always a minority, that are always seen as less than everybody else, so they can come in, take that same momentum, just like you said, Thomas, feed off of it, cultivate it, and turn it into their own. And then they can put their face on it, and they can ride.
Let's take the last one that happened, Black Lives Matter. We know how it started. We know about the 3 brothers that started it. Isn't it kind of funny that nobody recognizes that Black Lives Matter is the non-profit for the alternative lifestyle now? Just go to their website. It is a non-profit arm of the alternative lifestyle now. You don't see how they use us to generate finances. They use the so-called Black Lives Matters. They use the killings, got us emotional. We start donating. We start coming out in rallies. And they turned around, take it, replaced it, use the funds to get their candidates and their policies on the table.
Right. And if you sit there and pay attention long enough, you can see these organizations morph and change into what they were really designed to be for.
Oak Cliff Tiff said it perfect, like Lil Nas X played people. Let's just use that song. Came out with the hip hop, making you feel a particular way. People jumping behind it, buying it and supporting it. And once he get enough money, drop out and say, oh, by the way, I'm into a whole nother lifestyle, y'all. Remember, everything that look like you ain't you. We always quick to say all skin folk ain't kin folk. Are we applying it? There's nothing new up under the sun. Why would they start running the same program over and over and over when we're allowing it to be so successful? And I'm gonna say it again. We are allowing it to be successful. Nobody's forcing this. It's us.
Dude, the Vision says that yellow pleather outfit was a dead giveaway. Really?
Son of a little Nas. Y'all still want to go down that Old Town Road? You better pay attention.
Oh no. So, Title 6 is what we were talking about. The links were in the chat. And at the end of the day, if it did nothing else, we wanted you to be exposed to the fact that this information or this money is not just money for the so-called African American or the black society. It's money that's appropriated for almost any and everybody. Our people are just the people that don't take advantage of it.
Yeah, because they put a bad picture on it. They make you think, okay, it's for poor black people that can't get it right in society. I mean, think about the stigma that they put on it to make you look at it that way. But if you ever did the research and realize we are not the majority of the poor people in this country, how can we be when we're the 10th largest group on the planet when it comes to spending money?
Yeah, you can't be the poorest. You can't, right? You can't be the poorest and the most and have the largest 10th largest economical base.
Exactly, $1.7 trillion a year. But we the poor group. Man, if 1.7 a year is poor, hey, I'll take that.
Y'all, if y'all want to see a good example of how this whole thing worked, look at Michael Jackson, especially in the last few years he was alive, because they was making documentaries about how broke he was. but they was also making documentaries about how much money he was spending, and how many rights to things he owned. So how is it that you broke, but you got rights to everything and royalties coming in from everything? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't add up.
And we got to learn a lot of times when they say a person broke, they mean in liquid assets. That means hard cash they got on their persons right now, they might be broke. But what they own, man, listen. How this man own Time Life? Time Life music collection that's released every year is owned by Michael Jackson. And he broke? Really? He's Thriller 4 times. Every time sold over 40 million units. Don't believe everything they try to tell you.
No.
Judah Vision says, go to Title 9. He says, go to Title 9. Let me go back and see what he says. So I was trying to look it up. So sorry for the keyboard banging. He says, turn to Title 9 and see how they built off of Title 6.
Yeah, somebody said early in the chat they was feeling sorry for the keyboard. They heard it.
Stop it. It went on vacation when I went on vacation.
Oh, so the muscle memory still there with it? Okay, all right.
So I guess the next thing we're gonna be looking up is Title 9, huh?
Dun dun dun.
LJ Free says, typing freely. She says, type freely. It's part of the A2 watching experience. I don't know how much of a good experience it is, especially if it's loud.
Well, if you like the sounds of a jackhammer, I mean,
stop it.
Like it. Just tell the people. Come to this. I want you to feel what we typing up. I want to hear. Want to feel it. Don't do it. That's it. You been on vacation, so.
So yeah, what we'll do is we'll cover Title 9 tomorrow. What I can do is I can put it in the link so that we can give y'all a hand start so y'all can take a look at it. So give me a second. I'm going on mute.
No, it's white noise.
I couldn't get it out. But no, like I said, it's not interesting to look at all these programs that we keep.
Like check, Bones, you're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, all these programs that we keep coming across, and you realize how organizations are using 2, 3, 4 of them to build whole infrastructures. I mean, it's just amazing. And to know how long this has been around. Like I said, for me, in my personal experience, I look at all business differently now, completely differently now. Realizing that there's government programs that people are accessing and actually getting this stuff done. When you would think people are making smart decisions and wise deals to come across the profits. No, they're just accessing a program that gives you benefits for providing a service to low-income and minority groups.
Send me to a PDF, y'all. So give me a second.
Noodle stupid this rising. Some of the typing sound like the little dolls running across the floor from Tales of the Hood.
Wow, thanks.
Peace, Ladarian Woods. We love you too. We look for you catching the cab tomorrow, Rising Show.
Yeah, I have to do a little bit more research on finding exactly where the Title 9 is talking about, because Title 9 I get a lot of links. So you talking about Title 9 of the Civil Rights Act, or is it a different Title 9?
College title.
Say what?
College.
Oh, college Title 9.
College title.
See, that's why it's always good to ask questions.
The college.
Yeah, on the Title 9 schools.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. So I'm gonna pull up the Wikipedia page on it. That's gonna have all the sources. So I'm gonna put that in the chat. So give everybody a chance to catch up or get a head start. So y'all can post y'all questions tomorrow. That's what we're gonna be talking about. Title 9.
Yeah, basically another act to stop people from discriminating when it's coming to schools and education facilities.
Speaking of discriminating with you. That's all I heard.
Yeah, cause you sound like a bad transformer, like a transformer having a heart attack.
He said, and James said, then reread the original purpose, Title 6.
Okay.
Y'all can hear me now?
Nope. Bumblebone. Peaceful. I'm flying squirrel. Top Indio says context. Correct.
Check 1, 2.
Nope. Would you say you want to chew? Do what you want.
You still sound choppy.
Nah, man.
Check.
Getting closer.
Yeah, a little bit.
But no.
The most backwards thing I ever seen. Words, you know, I got the better sound. The more balls that I get, the worse I sound.
It's like flying a plane, Bones. It's opposite.
Wait, what?
The control. You want to go? It's all right.
All it is just a sign letting us know we need to wrap it up so people can get on with their day and we can get to work doing some work.
A little B.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Yep. Kind of sped up, but all right.
I was saying it was Title 9. It's Civil Rights Act. Discrimination.
Nah, bro, you sound scrambled. I
didn't know we were talking baseball.
OJ Free says no international trips for at least 30 days. Do you hear me, Copper India or TMH? Yes, I hear you. I don't know about Copper.
Copper been around the world too. MIA.
Yes, he said he hears you too.
Yeah, I had to make sure I responded as well.
So Bones went out and came back in. So do y'all have anything y'all want to say before we let these good people get to go and do some good things in the community? Copper.
Oh, you talking to us?
Yeah. Well, who you think I was talking to?
I don't know. What's going on, y'all?
I'm sitting there talking with the mute on. No, this is extremely eye opening, and to see that not only has the truth about who we are been up under our noses the whole time, but the thing that we've been complaining about day in and day out, week in and week out, month in and month out, year in and year out, it's just been right here the whole time. And we've sitting and watched countless people in other groups and other affiliations and in various religions and so forth take advantage of the same provisions that we've been given and we've had for generations. And it's time to put an end to that. It's time to start reclaiming not only our identities, but our place in the society, our rightful place in the society. And the main way we do that, the primary way we do that, is through our communities. And this is what we need to get our communities on track. I yield the mic.
I agree 100% with Copper. And if there's anybody that disagrees, we welcome any conversation along those lines. So, don't be afraid to email us. It's in the chat. Also, if everybody that is listening, that normally usually listens, wants to drop their city and email, I guess in our email, if you want to send us an email of your city and email, we'll start a back chat we're still trying to start a back chat for all the cities that are listening, so we can see about some of these programs in your areas. And you can also obviously look into it yourself in your areas. But if you want to email us your location, preferably your city, and your email address, and we'll try to start a back chat for each one of these cities. Have some answers for y'all if you have questions.
Mic check 1 2. That's better.
Who is that?
Oh, that's way better.
Way better.
Man, I heard your voice in so long. What that was.
Well, it's good to be back. I'm glad to be able to be on this show with everyone. There's no place like home, literally. And I don't care how you feel about the United States. I've had the opportunity to travel around the world in the past and currently, and there is no place like home. And you can't convince me any different. If you can, bring some proof. And at the end of the day, you can either be a part of the problem or you can be a part of the solution. You either can be the reason why things get done, or sit back and wait for somebody to get things done. So you have a choice. If you're promoting that you don't have a choice, then you definitely don't need to be on this continent. Go somewhere else. So that's all I got. I relinquish the mic. Bones, you can take us out.
And that's me.
Right. On that note, like we say, it's always fun when we get to kick it with the relatives and the rising. There's no better place we'd rather be. So on that note, until we link up again to tomorrow's Rising show, everyone have a blessed day and peace.
Peace, y'all.